I should have known the night would end badly when the man in the corner booth ordered champagne at 2 a.m. Not the cheap stuff either. Dom Perignon. 3 bottles. In a diner where the coffee was bitter and the pie was day-old at best. I'd been working at Stella's 24-hour diner for 2 years, long enough to recognize trouble when it walked through the door. But this man, God, this man was different. He moved like violence wrapped in expensive fabric, like thunder waiting to break. Table 6 needs their check, Rita called from behind the counter, but I was already watching him. Dark hair swept back from a face too sharp to be merely handsome. A black suit that probably cost more than my car. And eyes, Christ. Those eyes that tracked every movement in the room like a predator counting prey. 3 men sat with him, each built like they could snap me in half. They spoke in low voices, leaning in close, while he sat perfectly still, one hand resting on the table. Even from across the diner, I could see the rings on his fingers catching the fluorescent light. You gonna stare all night, or you gonna take their order? Rita's elbow jabbed my ribs. I grabbed my notepad and crossed the checkered floor, my sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. My heart hammered against my ribs with each step, though I couldn't explain why. Men in suits came through here all the time. Lawyers, businessmen, insomniacs with money to burn. But none of them had ever made the air feel heavy just by breathing. I stopped at their table, pen poised. "What can I get you, gentlemen?" The 3 men went silent. The one closest to me had a scar running down his jaw. He looked at me like I was already a problem he might need to solve. But the man in the center, the one who'd been watching the room, he turned those dark eyes on me, and I forgot how to breathe. "Coffee," he said. His voice was low, textured like smoke and gravel. "Black." "Same for us," Scarface grunted. I scribbled. "The order," trying to ignore the way my hands wanted to shake. "Anything else?" "Actually." The dark-eyed man tilted his head, studying me with an intensity that felt like being X-rayed. "You look intelligent. Let me ask you something." One of his men snorted. The man silenced him with a single glance. "I run a business," he continued, his lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Recently I've encountered a problem. My associates believe we should expand into new territory. Take what isn't ours. Use force to establish dominance." He leaned back, fingers drumming against the table. "What would you do?" I blinked. "Are you serious? Are you serious?" "Deadly." The word hung between us, and I realized he meant it literally. This was a test. A game. He expected me to fumble, to give some naive answer he could laugh about later with his men. But I'd grown up watching my father's restaurant fail because he refused to adapt. I'd seen him lose everything, trying to compete with chains that had more money and less soul. "You don't take territory," I heard myself say. "You make them want to give it to you." His drumming fingers stopped. "Excuse me?" I should have walked away, brought their coffee, minded my own damn business. But something in his eyes, some flicker of genuine curiosity, made me continue. "Force makes enemies. If you want lasting power, you need loyalty. You find out what the people in that territory need, what they're not getting from whoever runs it now. Then you provide it. Better prices, better protection, better opportunities." I met his gaze directly. "You don't take power. You make people want to give it to you. That way, when trouble comes, they'll fight for you instead of against you." The silence that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Then he laughed, a genuine surprise sound that transformed his entire face. For a moment he looked almost human, almost safe. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah. Serafina, but everyone calls me Sarah." "Serafina." He said it slowly, like tasting wine. "That's perfect. An angel giving advice to the devil. I don't." He pulled out his phone, typed something rapidly, then looked at his men. "Marco, call Vincent. Tell him he's fired. Effective immediately." The scarred man straightened. "Boss, you can't. Call him. Then fire Paolo, David, and the entire strategy team." He never took his eyes off me. Apparently, a waitress in a diner has more sense than 12 men I pay 6 figures each. My mouth went dry. I was just, "You were right." He stood, and I had to crane my neck to maintain eye contact. He was taller than I'd realized, broader in the shoulders. "They've been telling me to start a war. You just told me how to win without firing a shot." He reached into his jacket. I flinched. actually flinched and pulled out a business card. Black, embossed gold lettering. No name, just a phone number. Come to this address tomorrow at noon. I want to discuss a position. I have a job, one that pays minimum wage and tips from drunks. His eyebrow arched. I'm offering you a chance to use that brain of yours, unless you're content serving coffee to people who don't see you for the rest of your life. The words hit harder than they should have. Because he was right. I dropped out of business school when Dad got sick, watched my dreams shrink to the size of this diner, told myself it was temporary until temporary became 2 years. I don't even know who you are, I whispered. He leaned in too close, and I could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive that made my head spin. Yes, you do, he murmured. Some part of you knew the moment I walked in. Then he was moving past me, his men following like shadows. At the door, he paused and looked back. Noon, Serafina, don't make me come find you. It sounded like a promise and a threat. The door closed behind them, and I realized I was shaking. Rita was beside me instantly, her face pale. Do you know who that was? She hissed. I looked down at the card in my trembling hand. The gold lettering seemed to glow under the lights. No, I said. But I was lying. I'd seen his face before. In newspapers my father used to hide, in whispered conversations about the family that owned half the city. Dante Moretti, the most dangerous man in the city, had just offered me a job, and God help me, I was actually considering it. I didn't sleep. How could I, with that black card burning a hole in my nightstand drawer? I'd shoved it there the moment I got home, like hiding it would make the encounter less real. It didn't work. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. Dante Moretti, the name that made hardened men cross themselves. The man who, according to urban legend, had once burned down an entire warehouse with his enemies inside because they'd insulted his mother. And I'd given him business advice, like he was some struggling entrepreneur, instead of the head of the most powerful crime family in the city. You're insane, I told my reflection at 6 a.m. Coffee mug clutched in both hands. You're not actually going. My reflection didn't look convinced. The truth was, I'd spent 2 years in this apartment, this life, this carefully constructed safety. After Dad died, I'd chosen security over ambition, the diner over dreams. It hurt less than trying and failing. But last night, for 5 minutes, I'd felt alive again. The morning shift at Stella's dragged like moving through concrete. Rita kept shooting me worried glances, but I couldn't tell her. Couldn't say the words out loud. I'm thinking about working for the Mafia. At 11:30, I hung up my apron. Heading out early? Rita asked. Doctor's appointment. I lied, the words tasting bitter. The address on the card led to a building downtown I'd passed 1,000 times without really seeing. From the outside, it looked like any other office, complex glass and steel reaching toward a gray sky. Inside was different. The lobby alone probably cost more than my entire apartment building. Marble floors. Modern art that looked like controlled chaos on the walls. A security desk manned by 2 men who definitely weren't rent-a-cops. Name? The larger one said. Not asked. Said. Serafina Chen. I have an appointment. He typed something, listened to an earpiece, then nodded. 30th floor. Mr. Moretti is expecting you. The elevator ride felt like ascending into another world. My reflection in the polished steel showed a woman in her best blouse and slacks, her dark hair pulled back, trying desperately to look professional, trying to look like she belonged. The doors opened to reveal an office that stole my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. The space was open, modern, with dark wood and leather furniture that screamed power. And there, standing by the window with his back to me, was Dante Moretti. You came, he said without turning. I wasn't sure you would. I'm not sure why I did. He turned then, and in the daylight streaming through those windows, he was even more devastating. The harsh angles of his face, the way his shirt stretched across his shoulders, the casual confidence in his stance. Because you're curious, he said simply, and because you're tired of being invisible. I flinched, he noticed. I read people, Serafina. It's how I've survived this long. He moved toward his desk, gestured to a chair. Sit, please. I sat, mostly because my legs were shaking. He remained standing, studying me like I was a puzzle he was determined to solve. Your father owned Chen's Garden. Family restaurant, opened 23 years before it closed. My chest tightened. How do you? I make it my business to know things, especially about people who impress me. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed. You dropped out of Westfield Business School in your junior year. Top of your class. Full scholarship. You walked away to take care of him when he got sick. He needed me. And after he died, you stayed at the diner. Stopped dreaming. Started surviving. His eyes never left mine. Why? The question was so direct. So sharp. It cut through every defense I'd built. Because dreams hurt when they don't come true, I whispered. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Maybe. Understanding. I'm not offering you a dream, Serafina. I'm offering you a chance. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. This is my legitimate business portfolio. Hotels, restaurants, real estate development, the legal side of my empire. I opened the folder with trembling hands. The numbers inside made my head spin. Millions in revenue. Hundreds of employees. I need someone who understands people, who can look at a business and see not just numbers, but the human element. Strategy without sociopathy. His lips curved. Your advice last night? My team has been pushing expansion for months. They see only territory and profit. You saw sustainability and loyalty. That's rare. I don't know anything about your world. You don't need to. I have people who handle the darkness. His voice dropped lower. I need someone who can handle the light. I should have stood up, walked out, gone back to my safe, small life. Instead, I heard myself ask, what exactly would I be doing? His smile was slow and dangerous. Consulting, business development. You'd work from this office, analyze my legitimate ventures, make recommendations. Nothing illegal. Nothing that would compromise your conscience. And if I say no, then you go back to the diner, and we both wonder what could have been. He straightened, towering over me. But I don't think you will. Why not? He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and lifted my chin with one finger. The touch sent electricity racing through my veins. Because I see you, Serafina. The real you. The woman who's been hiding behind minimum wage and low expectations. And whoa, his thumb brushed my jaw. And that woman is hungry for more. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only feel the heat of his touch and the truth in his words. 1 month trial, I heard myself say. If I don't like it, you walk away. No questions asked. I'll even write you a recommendation letter for wherever you want to go next. He extended his hand. I stared at it, knowing that if I took it, nothing would ever be the same. The smart choice was to leave. I took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and for just a moment, I felt that same flicker of humanity I'd seen in the diner, something vulnerable beneath all that power. Then Marco, the scarred man from last night, appeared in the doorway. Boss, we have a problem. The Volkov family is making moves. They know about the expansion. Dante's expression shifted instantly, becoming something cold and lethal. Handle it, he said, his voice like ice. Marco hesitated. They want a meeting. Tonight. They're threatening. I said handle it. Dante's hand was still holding mine, but the man before me had transformed into something terrifying. By any means necessary. Marco nodded and disappeared. The warmth in Dante's eyes had vanished, replaced by the predator I'd sensed last night. He released my hand, moved to the window, shoulders tense. You should go, he said quietly. My assistant will have paperwork for you to sign. Start Monday. Dante, go, Serafina. He didn't turn around. Before you see something that changes your mind. I stood on shaking legs, moved toward the door, then looked back. He was a silhouette against the city he ruled, alone with his violence and his choices. And I'd just agreed to enter his world. What the hell had I done? Monday arrived with the kind of cold rain that felt personal. I stood outside the building at 8:45 a.m., my new portfolio bag clutched against my chest like armor, professional attire, confident posture, the mask of someone who belonged in this world. Underneath, I was terrified. Miss Chen? A woman in her 50s appeared beside me, umbrella extended. I'm Elena, Mr. Moretti's executive assistant. Welcome. She was efficient, elegant, and radiated the kind of unshakable calm that came from surviving chaos. As we rode the elevator, she briefed me in rapid-fire details. Your office is on 29. Full access to all legitimate business files. Mr. Moretti expects a preliminary analysis of the hotel division by Friday. Any questions? Come to me first. The boss is occupied today. Something in her tone made me ask, occupied how? Her smile was paper-thin. With matters you don't need to concern yourself with. The 29th floor was bustling with activity. People in suits moved with purpose, phones pressed to ears, tablets glowing in their hands. It looked like any other corporate office, except for the way everyone went silent when I walked past. My office was smaller than Dante's, but still beautiful. Windows, overlooking the city, a desk that probably cost more than my first car, and a computer loaded with files that made my business school education seem suddenly very relevant. I dove in, grateful for the distraction. Chen's garden had failed because Dad refused to adapt. These businesses, Moretti Hotels, Sapphire Restaurant Group, Moretti Development, they were thriving because someone understood evolution. But the files showed inefficiencies, redundancies, small cuts that could save millions. I was 3 hours deep in spreadsheets when Elena appeared in my doorway. Mr. Moretti would like to see you. 30th floor. Now. My stomach dropped. Is something wrong? That's not for me to say. The ride up one floor felt like ascending to judgment. The elevator doors opened to reveal Dante's office, but transformed. The lights were dimmer. Classical music played softly. And the furniture had been rearranged, creating an intimate seating area by the windows. Dante stood there in shirt sleeves, his jacket discarded, tie loosened. He looked exhausted and somehow more dangerous for it. Serafina. He gestured to the couch. Sit. Please, we need to talk. I sat, my heart hammering. If this is about my qualifications, it's about Friday night. I blinked. I don't understand. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter, handed me one. The Volkov family. The threat Marco mentioned. It's escalated. What does that have to do with me? Everything. He sat across from me, elbows on his knees, the glass dangling from his fingers. They know I hired you. They're questioning why a mafia boss needs a business consultant. They think you're something else. Something more. The whiskey burned going down. More? More. They think you matter to me. His eyes met mine, and the intensity there stole my breath. They think you're leverage. The words hung between us, heavy with implication. But I'm not, I said weakly. I'm just an employee. Are you? He leaned forward, and suddenly the space between us felt like nothing. Because I've been thinking about you since Friday night. The way you stood up to me. The way you saw solutions where my team saw only violence. The way you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster. My throat went dry. Dante, there's a charity gala this Friday. Business leaders, politicians, everyone who matters in this city. The Volkovs will be there. He set down his glass. I need you to come with me. As my date. You're insane. Probably. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. But if they see you with me publicly, they'll think twice about using you as leverage. You become untouchable, protected by association, or a bigger target, not with me beside you. The words were a promise, absolute and unwavering. I protect what's mine, Serafina, and right now, whether you like it or not, you're part of my world. That makes you mine to protect. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, it sent heat racing through my veins. This is crazy, I whispered. We barely know each other. Then let's fix that. He stood, extended his hand. Have dinner with me, tonight. Not business, just us. Every rational thought screamed at me to refuse. But I took his hand, let him pull me up, suddenly close enough to feel his body heat. One dinner, I said, but I'm not promising anything. His smile was devastating. I wouldn't expect you to. Dinner was at Luminosa, a restaurant so exclusive it didn't have a sign. We sat in a private room with soft lighting and music that felt like silk. Dante had changed into a fresh suit, his hair still damp from a shower. He looked less like a mafia boss and more like a man trying very hard to be normal. Tell me about your father, he said over wine that probably cost more than my weekly salary. So I did. The stories poured out Dad's terrible jokes, His stubborn pride, the way he'd sung off key while cooking, the grief I'd buried beneath survival. Dante listened like every word mattered, and when I finally stopped, embarrassed by how much I'd shared, he reached across the table and took my hand. "He'd be proud of you," he said quietly. "Starting over, taking risks, that takes strength. Is that what you did? Take risks?" His expression darkened. "I inherited a war. My father died when I was 23, and every family in the city wanted to carve up his territory. I had a choice, be weak and die, or become something they feared. So you became a monster?" "I became what was necessary." He released my hand, leaned back. "But sometimes, late at night, I wonder what I could have been. If I'd had a choice. If violence wasn't the only language I could speak." The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in my chest. "You're not just violence," I said. "You built an empire, Dante. Legitimate businesses, jobs for thousands of people. That's not nothing. It's also not enough to wash away the blood." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed. "We need to leave. Now." "What's wrong?" He was already standing, throwing cash on the table. "Marco was supposed to handle the Volkov situation. He failed." "What does that mean?" He grabbed my hand, pulled me toward the exit. "It means they're coming for me, and if they find you here, they'll use you to hurt me." Fear spiked through my chest. "Dante." The window exploded inward in a shower of glass. Gunfire erupted, and Dante threw his body over mine, driving us to the floor. I felt his weight, his heat, his hand cradling my head to protect it from the shards raining down. "Stay down!" he roared. More shots, screaming, the acrid smell of gunpowder. Then silence, sudden and suffocating. Dante lifted his head, his eyes wild and dangerous. "Are you hurt?" I shook my head, unable to speak. He pulled me up with surprising gentleness, glass crunching beneath our feet. Through the shattered window, I could see men running his men, chasing shadows. "You need to leave the city," he said, his voice rough. "Tonight. I'll arrange protection. A place where... No." He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "Serafina, you said I was yours to protect." I met his eyes, my fear transmuting into something fiercer. "That goes both ways. I'm not running. This isn't a game. These men will kill you to hurt me. Then don't let them." I grabbed his shirt, pulled him closer. "You want me in your world? Then show me all of it. Not just the safe parts. All of it." For a moment, I saw the war in his eyes, the desire to protect me and the need to keep me close, fighting for dominance. Then he kissed me. It was desperate and claiming and tasted like danger. His hands cupped my face like I was precious and breakable. But his mouth moved over mine like he was starving. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. "You have no idea what you're asking for," he whispered. "Then show me." His smile was dark and beautiful. "Be careful what you wish for, Angel." Sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer, and I realized, standing in a room full of shattered glass and the smell of gunpowder, that I'd just crossed a line I could never uncross. I was no longer just working for Dante Moretti. I was falling for him, and in his world, that might be the most dangerous thing I'd ever done. Dante's penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury. We arrived after midnight, flanked by 4 armed men who melted into the shadows the moment we crossed the threshold. The space was enormous, all dark wood, leather furniture, and windows that turned the city into a glittering backdrop. "Wait here," Dante said, his voice clipped and controlled. He disappeared down a hallway, already on his phone, issuing orders in rapid Italian. I stood in the center of the living room, glass still clinging to my hair, my hands shaking from adrenaline. The kiss had been real. The bullets had been real. This was all horrifyingly, dangerously real. "Drink this." A woman appeared from nowhere, pressing a tumbler of amber liquid into my hands. She was young, maybe my age, with sharp eyes and a gun holster visible beneath her jacket. "It'll help with the shock." I drank. It burned perfectly. "I'm Lucia," she said, "part of Mr. Moretti's personal security. You're Serafina. Word travels fast." Her smile was knowing. "In this world? Always. You should know what happened tonight? That was a warning shot. They could have killed you both if they wanted to." My blood went cold. Then why didn't they? Because they want him to suffer first, to know what's coming. She glanced toward the hallway where Dante had vanished. The boss has enemies. Lots of them. But the Volkovs? They're different. They don't just want territory. They want revenge. For what? That's not my story to tell. Lucia checked her phone, nodded to herself. I'm staying outside your door tonight. Try to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense. She disappeared as silently as she'd arrived. I wandered through the penthouse, too wired to sit still. The kitchen was pristine, clearly unused. The bookshelves held leather-bound volumes and framed photographs. A younger Dante with an older man who had the same sharp eyes, the same dangerous grace. His father, I realized. The man who'd left him a war. He taught me everything. I spun around. Dante stood in the doorway, tie gone, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He looked exhausted and predatory all at once. Sorry. I was just... It's fine. He moved to a bar cart, poured himself whiskey. That picture was taken 6 months before he died. Heart attack. Sudden. He was meeting with the Volkov patriarch when it happened. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a bastard. Cruel. Calculating. But he loved me in his way. Dante swirled the liquid in his glass. Viktor Volkov, the patriarch, he blamed my family. Said the stress of the meeting killed his old friend. But the truth is, they were never friends. Just enemies who hadn't started shooting yet. And now his son wants revenge? Alexei Volkov wants war. He's young, ambitious, and stupid enough to think he can win. Dante's eyes met mine across the room. He's also right about one thing. I am vulnerable now. Because of me. Because of what you make me feel. The confession was raw, unguarded. I've spent 15 years building walls, becoming someone nothing can touch. And then you walked into that diner, looked me in the eye, and told me I was doing everything wrong. My heart hammered against my ribs. Dante. You should be terrified of me, Serafina. Everyone else is. But you stood in that restaurant covered in glass and told me you weren't running. He set down his glass, moved closer. Why? The truth sat on my tongue, impossible and terrifying. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel invisible anymore, I whispered. Because you see me, the real me, not the girl, serving coffee. Not the failure who gave up on her dreams. You see who I could be. He was directly in front of me now, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the faint scar above his eyebrow. Do you know what I see? His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jaw. I see someone brave enough to tell the truth, strong enough to stand in fire and not burn, beautiful enough to make me forget why I shouldn't care. Should you care? No. His thumb brushed my lower lip. It's a liability, a weakness. In my world, caring gets you killed. Then stop caring. I can't. The words were anguished. Believe me, I've tried. But you're in my blood now, Serafina, and I'm selfish enough to keep you there, even knowing the danger. He kissed me again, slower this time. Less desperation, more inevitability. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back, and I melted into him like I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment. When we broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. Stay tonight, he said quietly. Not because of danger, not because of the Volkovs. Just stay. I should have said no. Should have demanded he take me home, back to my safe, separate life. Instead, I nodded. He gave me one of his shirts to sleep in. It smelled like him, dark spice and danger, and fell to my mid-thighs. I stood in his guest room, staring at my reflection, wondering who this woman was. She looked like me, but she felt like someone braver. A knock at the door made me jump. Come in. Dante entered, carrying a first aid kit. You have a cut. On your arm. From the glass. I looked down and saw the thin line of blood I hadn't noticed in the chaos. Sit, he commanded gently. I sat on the edge of the bed, and he knelt before me, this powerful, dangerous man on his knees, and carefully cleaned the wound. His touch was impossibly tender. I'm sorry, he said quietly, not looking up, for dragging you into this, for being selfish enough to want you, close even when I know better. I made my own choice. Did you? Or did I seduce you with promises of purpose and possibility? His eyes lifted to mine. Because I'm good at that, Serafina. Reading people, giving them what they need to hear. It's how I've survived. Is that what you did? Manipulated me? I don't know anymore. He finished bandaging my arm, but didn't move away. Maybe at first, but now? Now I think you might be the first real thing I've had in 15 years. My breath caught. Stay in the city, he said. Work with me. Let me protect you. But understand, once you're truly in this world, there's no clean exit. The things you'll see, the choices you'll have to make, they'll change you. Maybe I want to be changed. His smile was sad and beautiful. Then God help us both. He stood, moved toward the door, then paused. I sleep 2 doors down. If you need anything. Dante? He turned back. I'm not afraid of you. You should be, he said quietly. Because I'm falling for you, Angel. And when men like me fall, we drag everyone down with us. The door closed, leaving me alone with the truth. I was falling too. And tomorrow, Dante's world would show me exactly how dangerous that was. The dress arrived Friday morning in a box tied with black silk ribbon. I opened it in my apartment. I'd insisted on going home Thursday, needing space to process everything, and felt my breath catch. Deep emerald silk, backless, with a slit that ran dangerously high, elegant and provocative all at once. The note inside was in Dante's handwriting. Wear this tonight. Let them see who you belong to. I should have been offended by the possessiveness. Instead, heat pooled low in my stomach. At 7 p.m., a car arrived. Not a town car, a vintage Rolls-Royce, gleaming black, with Dante in the back seat wearing a tuxedo that made him look like sin itself. You're stunning, he said when I slid in beside him. His eyes traveled over me with unmistakable hunger. Every man in that room will want you, and every single one will know you're mine. I'm not property, Dante. No. He took my hand, pressed his lips to my knuckles. You're so much more dangerous than that. You're the thing I'd burn the world to protect. The gala was held at the Meridian Hotel, the crown jewel of Dante's legitimate empire. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, string quartet playing softly as the city's elite mingled in designer gowns and tuxedos, and everyone stared when we entered. Dante kept his hand on the small of my bare back, proprietary and protective. I felt the weight of dozens of gazes, heard the whispers that followed us like waves. Relax, he murmured in my ear. They're just curious. You're the first woman I've brought to one of these in 5 years. 5 years? I don't do attachments. Too dangerous. Too distracting. His fingers pressed against my spine. You're the exception to every rule I've ever made. A man appeared before us, silver-haired, expensive suit, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Dante, what a surprise to see you here. Marcus. Dante's voice went cold. Still laundering money through that charity of yours? The man's smile tightened. Still pretending you're legitimate? I don't pretend. Dante's hand slid around my waist, pulling me closer. Everything I do, I own completely, including my choices. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Marcus's eyes flicked to me, assessing, then back to Dante. The Volkovs are here, he said quietly. Alexei brought his sister. I felt Dante tense beside me. Where? East Terrace. He's been asking about your companion. Marcus nodded to me. You should be careful, Moretti. Falling in love makes you sloppy. I'll keep that in mind. Marcus walked away, and Dante's jaw was tight enough to shatter. We need to go, he said. I thought the point was to be seen together. The point was to make you untouchable. But if Alexei is here, looking for you, he guided me toward the edge of the room. I need to handle this. Marco will take you. No. I planted my feet. You said we'd face this together. Were you lying? His eyes blazed. Serafina, show me your world, Dante. All of it. Or admit you don't actually trust me. The war in his expression was visible. Fear and respect and something fiercer battling for dominance. Then he nodded once, sharp and decisive. Stay close. Don't speak unless I tell you to. And if anything happens... He cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. Run. Promise me. I promise. We moved through the crowd to the East Terrace. The night air was cool against my bare back, and the city spread below us like scattered diamonds. 3 people stood by the railing. 2 men in dark suits, and between them, a woman who took my breath away. She was stunning ice-blonde hair, angular features, a red dress that looked painted on. But her eyes, pale blue and cold as winter, were fixed on Dante with unmistakable hatred. Moretti, the taller man said. He was around Dante's age, handsome in a sharp-edged way, with white blonde hair and a smile like a knife. We were just talking about you. Alexei. Dante's voice was flat, emotionless. I heard you've been making threats. That's disappointing. Threats? No. Alexei's gaze slid to me, and I felt exposed, evaluated, merely expressing concern. You've been distracted lately, making unusual choices, hiring civilians, attending galas instead of handling business. My business is handled. Is it? Because from where I stand, you look weak, compromised. Alexei took a step forward. My father always said your father was a sentimental fool. Looks like it runs in the family. The temperature on the terrace seemed to drop 10 degrees. Your father, Dante said softly, died choking on his own blood after he tried to move against mine. I watched it happen. Want to guess who stopped calling the ambulance? The blonde woman gasped. You're lying. Katya, isn't it? Dante's smile was terrible. Your father had a heart condition. Stress. My father knew that. So he stressed him. Deliberately. And when he collapsed during their meeting, my father made sure help arrived. Slowly. The air crackled with violence barely restrained. You're admitting to murder, Alexei said. I'm admitting to strategy. Your father was weak. A liability. My father removed him. Dante's hand tightened on my waist. The question is, are you stupid enough to repeat his mistakes, or smart enough to walk away? Walk away? Alexei laughed, the sound sharp and dangerous. You've lost your mind, Moretti. You've gone soft. And that pretty little thing on your arm? She's proof. Before I could blink, Dante moved. One moment he was beside me, the next he had Alexei by the throat, slammed against the railing, dangling over a 30-story drop. Say one more word about her, Dante whispered, his voice like death itself, and I'll throw you off this terrace and tell everyone you slipped. Alexei's men reached for their guns. Marco and 3 others appeared from nowhere, weapons drawn, creating a standoff that could explode into bloodshed. Dante, I spoke quietly, but he heard me. Put him down, Serafina. You said you weren't just violence. Prove it. I stepped closer, ignoring the guns, the danger. Put him down and walk away. For 5 eternal seconds, nobody moved. Then Dante released Alexei, who stumbled back, gasping. You have 48 hours to leave my territory, Dante said. After that, I stopped being reasonable. He took my hand and we walked back into the gala as if nothing had happened, but I'd seen it, the monster beneath the man. The violence he kept leashed, the darkness he controlled. And God help me, it didn't scare me. It made me understand him. In the car afterward, Dante was silent, his jaw tight. You're angry, I said. I'm terrified. He turned to me, and his eyes were raw. You saw what I am tonight, what I'm capable of, and you still looked at me like I was worth saving. Aren't you? No. The word was broken. Men like me don't get saved, Serafina. We just drag angels down to hell with us. I took his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. Then maybe, I whispered, I want to burn. He kissed me desperately, and I knew we both knew we'd passed the point of no return. Sunday morning, I woke to my apartment door being kicked open. I bolted upright, heart pounding, as 3 men in black tactical gear swarmed my bedroom. I opened my mouth to scream, FBI. Serafina Chen, stay where you are. The lead agent flashed a badge. Agent Sarah Torres. You're not under arrest. Yet. But we need to talk about Dante Moretti. My blood turned to ice. They didn't touch me, didn't threaten, just stood there while Agent Torres pulled up a chair and sat, studying me with sharp, assessing eyes. You've been working for Moretti for 2 weeks, attending his events, sleeping in a penthouse. She rattled off dates, locations, details that made my stomach churn. What I can't figure out is whether you're complicit or a victim. I'm a business consultant. Everything I do is legal. Is it? She pulled out a tablet, showed me photos. Dante meeting with known criminals, money transfers, documents with my electronic signature authorizing payments to shell corporations. I never signed those, I whispered. Your login credentials did. 3 days ago. A transfer of $5 million to an offshore account linked to a weapons dealer. The room spun. Someone's setting you up, Miss Chen. Or Moretti is. Either way, you're looking at conspiracy charges, money laundering, accessory to arms trafficking. Torres leaned forward. Unless you cooperate. You want me to inform on him. I want you to help us build a case. Wear a wire. Document conversations. Give us enough to bring down his entire operation. Her expression softened slightly. I've seen this before. Smart. Woman. Legitimate job. Gets pulled into a criminal's orbit. You think he cares about you. But men like Moretti? They only care about power. My hands were shaking. And if I say no? Then you go to prison with him. Your choice. She left a card with a phone number. You have 48 hours. Call me, or the next time we meet, you'll be in handcuffs. The door closed behind them, and I collapsed onto my bed, mind racing. Someone was framing me. But who? And why? My phone buzzed. Dante, need to see you. Now. It's urgent. I should have called the FBI. Should have run as far and fast as possible. Instead, I got dressed and went to him. Dante's office was chaos when I arrived. Papers everywhere, Marco shouting into a phone in Russian, Lucia at a laptop, fingers flying over keys, and Dante, standing by the window, radiating barely controlled fury. Tell me you didn't authorize a $5 million transfer on Friday, he said without turning. My heart sank. The FBI showed me. Documents. They think I did. He spun around. The FBI was at your apartment? This morning. They think I'm laundering money for you. I moved closer. Dante, someone forged my signature. Used my credentials. I'm being set up. By who? I don't know. You're the one with enemies. Marco hung up, crossed to Dante. Boss, it's worse. That money? It went to Vadim Sokolov, arms dealer. He supplies the Volkovs. The pieces clicked together in my mind. They're framing both of us, making it look like I'm your accomplice in arming your enemies. Which means the Volkovs have someone inside my organization. Dante's hands clenched into fists. Someone with access to our systems. Someone who could forge Serafina's credentials and make it look authentic. There's only 3 people with that level of access, Lucia said quietly. You, Marco, and Elena. Silence fell like a guillotine. Elena's been with me for 20 years, Dante said. And Marco? I asked. Marco's face went red. I would die for this family. You know that, boss. I do. Dante's voice was cold as death, which means we have a problem. Someone I trust is betraying me, and they're using Serafina to do it. He crossed to me, took my shoulders. Did the FBI ask you to wear a wire? I nodded. And? I came here instead. Something shifted in his expression, relief and fear, and something tender. They'll threaten you with prison. With everything. And they're not wrong, Serafina. If they can prove you authorized that transfer, you'll do time. Then prove I didn't. How? Your credentials were used. Your signature is on the documents. He released me, turned away. Unless we find out who framed you, you're going down with me. Then find out. I moved in front of him, forced him to look at me. You have resources, power, people. Use them. And if I can't, if the evidence is too solid, the question hung between us, heavy with implications. Then I guess we burn together, I said softly. His kiss was desperate, claiming, tasting like goodbye. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. I'm going to fix this, he promised. Whatever it takes, even if I have to burn my entire organization to the ground. Dante, Marco's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and went pale. Boss, we have a bigger problem. He turned the phone around, showing a news alert. Federal investigation into Moretti Empire. CEO's girlfriend linked to illegal arms deal below it. A photo of me and Dante at the gala, looking intimate and clearly together. They leaked it. Lucia breathed. The FBI leaked the investigation to the press, which meant I was officially public. Target and liability rolled into one. They're trying to pressure you, Dante said. Make you a public scandal so you'll flip on me to save your reputation. Will it work? He studied me, and I saw the war in his eyes, the desire to trust me fighting against years of paranoid survival. I don't know, he said honestly. Everyone has a breaking point, even you. The words hurt more than they should have. Get out. My voice was steady despite the breaking of my heart. If you don't trust me, then this was all a lie. The connection, the promises, everything. Serafina, I said get out. Tears burned my eyes. Or I will, and I'll take the FBI up on their offer. At least they're honest about using me. For a moment, I thought he'd fight, argue, prove me wrong. Instead, he walked out, and I was left alone in his office, surrounded by his empire, wondering how love and betrayal could taste so identical. I lasted 6 hours before I broke, not from fear, not from pressure, but from the corrosive uncertainty that ate at me in Dante's absence. Agent Torres answered on the first ring. I was wondering when you'd call. I need to know something first, I said, pacing my apartment. If I cooperate, if I give you everything, what happens to him? Moretti goes to prison. Probably for life. And if I don't? You go to prison. He walks. Eventually. Men like him always do. She paused. Is he worth it, Miss Chen? Worth throwing away your entire future? I looked at the business card Dante had given me that first night, black, gold lettering, the number I'd called that changed everything. I don't know, I whispered. Then let me help you figure it out. Meet me, tomorrow. Just to talk. No commitment, no wire, nothing official. Just talk. I should have said no. Should have called Dante, warned him. Instead, I agreed. That night I dreamed of my father. We were in Chen's garden, but it was burning. Flames licked up the walls while Dad stood in the center, calm and sad. You always choose wrong, Sarah, he said. You stayed when you should have left. Now you'll leave when you should stay. I don't understand. You will. When it's too late. I woke gasping, sheets twisted around me. Dante's shirt, the one he'd given me to sleep in, soaked with sweat. My phone showed 3 missed calls. All from Dante. I didn't call back. Agent Torres chose a coffee shop in neutral territory, far from Dante's businesses, far from anywhere his people would patrol. She looked tired, human, with coffee stains on her blazer and lines around her eyes. Thank you for coming, she said when I sat. I haven't agreed to anything. I know, and honestly, I respect that. She stirred her coffee absently. I've been tracking Moretti for 7 years. He's smart, careful, always 3 steps ahead, but he's made a mistake with you. How? He cares. Maybe for the first time in his life, he actually cares about someone more than his empire. She met my eyes. That makes him vulnerable, and it makes you powerful. I don't want power over him. Don't you? She leaned forward. You could save him, Serafina. Help us take down the real criminals, the Volkovs, the arms dealers, the human traffickers he does business with. Give us them, and we'll offer Dante a deal. Reduced sentence, witness protection, a chance at a real life. My chest tightened. And you'd actually honor that? I would. Because contrary to popular belief, we're not monsters. We want the worst of the worst. Dante Moretti? She shrugged. He's a criminal. But he's not the devil. He runs legitimate businesses, employs thousands, even does charity work. The man's complex. Maybe redeemable, with the right incentive. What incentive? Her smile was knowing. You. The word hit like a physical blow. Think about it, Torres continued. You testify against the Volkovs, against his father's old contacts, the real monsters. We build a case that makes Dante look like a victim of circumstance, inherited a criminal empire, tried to go legitimate, got pulled back in. With your testimony, we could position him for a deal. 5 years, maybe less. Then you both walk away. It sounded too good to be true, which meant it probably was. What's the catch? He has to trust you completely, give you access to everything, files, meetings, conversations. You become our eyes and ears in the heart of his operation. She pulled out a small device, barely larger than a button. This is military grade, undetectable. You wear it, we hear everything. I stared at the tiny piece of technology that could save Dante or destroy him. And if I say no, then we move forward with the money laundering charges. You go to trial, probably lose, spend 10 years in federal prison. Dante continues his war with the Volkovs until one of them ends up dead. Her expression softened. Is that really how you want this story to end? I left without the device, without agreeing to anything. But I couldn't stop thinking about Torres's words. You could save him. Could I? Or would I just be trading one betrayal for another? My phone rang. Dante. Finally. Where are you? His voice was rough, exhausted. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. Neither is walking out when I needed you to trust me. Silence stretched. Between us, painful and taut. I found something, he said finally. About the person who framed you. Can you meet me? Please, I need to show you. Every instinct screamed trap, but something in his voice, raw and almost desperate, made me agree. Where? The garden house. It was my mother's. No one knows about it except me. We'll be safe there. He gave me an address in the suburbs, far from his usual territory. Dante, I said before he could hang up. If this is a test, it's not. I swear on everything I have left. A pause. I'm sorry. For doubting you. For being too broken to know how to trust anyone. But I'm trying, Serafina. For the first time in 15 years. I'm trying. The call ended. I sat in my car, Agent Torres's card in one hand, my phone in the other. 2 choices. 2 betrayals. Save myself or save him. My father's voice echoed in my memory. You always choose wrong. I started the car and drove toward Dante's address. Torres's card still on the passenger seat. Maybe this time, I'd choose right. Or maybe I'd just learn that in Dante's world, there were no right choices, only different kinds of wrong. The garden house was beautiful in a haunted way. Ivy-covered stone, overgrown gardens, windows dark despite the afternoon sun. It looked like a place where secrets went to die. Dante's car was already there, his personal vehicle, not the chauffeured luxury he usually traveled in, which meant he'd come alone. I sat in my car for 5 full minutes, hand on the gear shift, ready to flee. Then I saw him appear in the doorway, and my heart made the decision my mind couldn't. I went to him. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. He looked different, vulnerable, with shadows under his eyes and his shirt untucked. Human, you said you found something. I did, but first. He reached for me, hesitated. I need you to know I'm sorry. For everything. For dragging you into my world. For doubting you. For being too damaged to know how to love someone, without destroying them. Dante, let me finish. His hand cupped my cheek. You were right. I didn't trust you. Because trusting means being vulnerable. And vulnerable means dead in my world. But you're not my world, Serafina. You're the escape from it. The proof that I'm still human underneath all this blood. His words cracked something open in my chest. Show me what you found, I whispered. He led me inside, through rooms filled with dust and memories. Photographs on the walls, a beautiful woman with Dante's eyes, a young boy learning to smile before he learned to survive. In what used to be a study, he had a laptop set up, files spread across a desk. I had Lucia run a deep analysis of the system breach, he said, pulling up data. Someone accessed your credentials at 2:47 a.m. on Friday. But here's what's interesting. They used a device connected to my private network, which means they were physically in my building. Okay. More than that, they accessed files only. 3 people can reach. Me, Marco, and Elena. He pulled up security footage. This is the camera outside Elena's office at 2:45 a.m. The video showed a figure entering, dressed in black, face obscured. Now watch. He fast-forwarded. The figure emerged 15 minutes later, and in the brief second they adjusted their hood. The camera caught a profile. My blood went cold. It was Marco. He's been with me since we were teenagers, Dante said, his voice hollow. Grew up together, fought together. I would have died for him, and he sold me out to the Volkovs. Are you sure? He's not here. Disappeared this morning. Cleaned out his accounts. Erased his digital footprint. He's gone, Serafina, and he took evidence that could have cleared you with him. I sank into a chair, the weight of it crushing. Why would he betray you? Money? Fear? The Volkovs probably offered him something I couldn't. Dante's laugh was bitter. Or maybe he just got tired of watching me build an empire while he stayed a soldier. Doesn't matter. What matters is you're still in danger. The FBI has their evidence. Marco won't testify on your behalf, and the Volkovs now know every weak point in my organization. What are you going to do? His eyes met mine, and I saw the decision there cold and absolute. I'm going to end this. Tonight. The Volkovs, the investigation, all of it. How? By giving the FBI what they want. Not you, never you, but someone to take the fall. Someone who can tie the money laundering to Marco and the Volkovs. Understanding dawned terrible and inevitable. You're going to turn yourself in. No, I'm going to turn in my father's empire. The parts I never cleaned up, the businesses I kept running out of obligation. I'll hand the FBI a case so airtight they'll forget all about you. He came to me, knelt before my chair. You'll be free. Serafina. Clear name, no charges, no connection to any of this. And you? I'll survive. I always do. But his smile was sad, though probably from a prison cell this time. No. I grabbed his shirt, pulled him closer. You're not doing this. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. It's not sacrifice if it's the only thing that matters. His hands framed my face. You made me want to be better, to build something clean. For the first time in my life, I looked in the mirror and saw a man instead of a monster. That's because of you. Tears burned my eyes. Dante. But I can't be that man if you're in prison. Can't be anything if I lose you. He kissed me softly. So I'm choosing you over the Empire. Over everything. Because you're the first good thing I've ever had. There has to be another way. There isn't. Not one that keeps you safe. He stood, pulled me up with him. I've already called my lawyer. By midnight tonight, the FBI will have enough evidence to indict 15 people, arms dealers, money launderers, corrupt officials. Everything that made my father's empire dirty. In exchange, they'll clear you completely and give me a reduced sentence. How reduced? 7 years. Maybe 5 with good behavior. 5 years. An eternity. A blink. I'll wait, I heard myself say. He laughed, broken and beautiful. No, you won't. You'll rebuild your life. Go back to school. Start that business you always wanted. Fall in love with someone who doesn't have blood on his hands. I'm already in love with someone who does. The words hung between us, confession and condemnation all at once. Dante's expression shattered. Don't love me, Serafina. I'm not worth it. Too late. I kissed him, desperate and claiming, trying to memorize everything, the taste of him, the feel of his hands in my hair, the way he held me like I was precious and breakable. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, the air felt charged with finality. Stay with me tonight, he whispered. Just tonight. Tomorrow I'll turn myself in, but tonight. Let me pretend I get to keep you. I should have said no, should have protected my heart from the inevitable breaking. Instead, I nodded. Because I'd already chosen him over safety, over sense, over everything that should have mattered. And if we only had one night before the world came crashing down, I was going to burn bright enough to remember forever. That night, the garden house felt like a world outside time. Dante built a fire in the ancient fireplace while I explored his mother's things, books in Italian, photographs of a life before violence, a music box that played a haunting melody when opened. She loved this place, Dante said, watching me from across the room. Bought it with money she saved before marrying my father. Her sanctuary. He never came here. Why not? Because she asked him not to, and for all his cruelty, he loved her enough to honor that. Dante poured wine into crystal glasses. She died when I was 14. Cancer. Fast and brutal. After she was gone, Dad became something colder, more ruthless, like her death. Took whatever humanity he had left. I joined him on the couch, accepted the wine. Is that what you're afraid of? Becoming him? I already am him. Was born into his legacy, shaped by his choices, built an empire on his foundation. He stared into the fire. But you make me want to be something else. Someone she'd be proud of. Then be that person. How? By going to prison? By destroying everything I've built? By choosing love over power. I set down my wine, turned to face him. Your father chose empire. You're choosing me. That's different. That's everything. He looked at me like I was both salvation and impossibility. I don't know how to be soft, how to be normal. All I know is control and violence. Then I'll teach you. I took his hand. Starting now. Just for tonight, let go of everything. Be just Dante. Not Moretti, not the boss, not your father's son, just you. Something shifted in his eyes, fear and longing and desperate hope. I don't know who that is anymore. Then let's find out. I kissed him slowly, not desperate or claiming, but exploratory, learning the shape of him without the weight of danger pressing down. His lips were softer than I expected, his hands tentative as they settled on my waist. Serafina, he breathed against my mouth. If we do this, then we do it completely. No walls, no masks, no pretending. I pulled back to look at him. I want all of you, Dante, even the broken parts, especially those. The walls crumbled. He kissed me like drowning, like salvation, like I was the only thing keeping him tethered to humanity. His hands mapped my body with reverence, learning every curve and hollow. When he pulled me onto his lap, I felt his heartbeat racing against mine. He paused, vulnerability naked on his face. I've never let anyone see me like this, without armor. I'm honored. You should be terrified. I am. I framed his face with my hands, but I'm more terrified of losing you. So tonight let me have you, all of you, before the world takes you away. He carried me upstairs to a bedroom that smelled of lavender and memories. Moonlight streamed through the windows, painting everything silver and shadow. When he laid me on the bed, his hands were shaking. I want to be gentle with you, he whispered, but I don't know how. I've been hard and cold for so long. Then let me show you. I pulled him down, kissed him slowly, teaching him the rhythm of tenderness with my body. His touch was cautious at first, reverent, like I might shatter. But gradually, the dam broke. The darkness and the light intertwined his controlled power, meeting my willing surrender. He worshipped me with hands and mouth, memorizing every gasp and shiver. And when we finally came together, it felt like breaking and being made whole simultaneously. Look at me, I whispered. Stay with me. His eyes locked on mine, dark and burning. Always, even when I can't. The promise shattered us both. Afterward, we lay tangled in sheets and moonlight, his fingers tracing idle patterns on my skin. Tell me about her, I said quietly. Your mother. She was strong, stronger than anyone gave her credit for. She knew what my father was, what his world would do to me, but she tried to protect me anyway. His voice was rough with old grief. Used to say that everyone has a choice. Even in darkness, you can choose to be light. She was right, was she? Because I chose darkness. Every single time. Until me. Until you. He pulled me closer. You're my mother's redemption. The proof that her son could choose differently, even if it's too late. It's not too late, isn't it? Tomorrow I surrender. Tomorrow everything ends. I lifted my head, met his eyes. Then tonight never ends. Right now in this moment we're infinite. That's enough. He kissed me again, and this time it tasted like goodbye and forever tangled together. We made love twice more before dawn, once desperate, trying to stop time, with our bodies, and once achingly tender, memorizing each other for the years ahead. As the sun began to rise, painting the room in shades of gold, Dante held me close. I need to tell you something, he said, about the deal with the FBI. My heart stuttered. What about it? The reduced sentence? It's conditional. I have to testify against the Volkovs, put them away for life, which means they'll come after me in prison. I'll probably be dead within a year. The world stopped. No, you didn't tell me that, because you wouldn't have let me do it, and it's the only way, Serafina. The only way you stay safe. If the Volkovs go away, their vendetta dies with them. You'll be untouchable. Tears streamed down my face. I don't want to be safe if it means losing you. You're not losing me. You're letting me be something better than I was. You're letting me choose you over survival. He wiped my tears with his thumbs. This is my redemption, Angel. Let me have it. I wanted to scream, to beg, to find some other way. But looking into his eyes, seeing the peace there, the first real peace I'd ever seen in him, I understood. This was his choice, and respecting it was the only way to truly love him. Promise me something, I whispered. Anything. Fight. In prison, against the Volkovs, against fate fight to survive. Because I'll be out here, waiting, building the life you wanted us to have. And when you get out, if you get out, I'll be there. His smile was devastating. That's a beautiful dream. It's a promise. Dawn broke fully, and with it, our time was gone. Dante dressed in the suit he'd brought. I wore the dress from the night before, rumpled and ruined and perfect. At the door, he paused. I love you, Serafina Chen. I don't know how to love correctly, or safely, or the way you deserve, but I love you with everything I have left. I love you too, with all my brokenness and all my hope. One last kiss, one last moment. Then he was gone, and I collapsed on his mother's couch, surrounded by the ghost of everything we'd been, and mourned the man who chose to die so I could live. 6 months later, the world looked different. I stood in the office of Chen & Associates, the business consulting firm I'd built from nothing. My father's name, my mother's maiden name, combined into something new. The view wasn't as grand as Dante's had been, but it was mine, earned with work and tears and the knowledge that love had given me. "Miss Chen?" My assistant poked her head in. "Your 3 o'clock is here." I nodded, smoothing my skirt. Clients now. Small businesses needing guidance. Exactly what I'd dreamed of in business school before life derailed everything. Before Dante. His trial had been national news. The testimony had been devastating, years of corruption exposed. The Volkov family implicated in everything from arms dealing to human trafficking. Dante had stood in that courtroom and burned his father's legacy to ash. They'd given him 6 years, minimum security, with possibility of parole in 4. Alexei Volkov had gotten life without parole. His sister Katya had fled the country, a warrant for her arrest still outstanding. Marco had been found dead in Prague, 2 bullets in the back of his head. Volkov justice for his failures. And I'd been cleared completely. No charges, no record, nothing but a story I'd never tell anyone. My phone buzzed. Agent Torres. Just wanted to check in. How are you holding up? She'd become an unlikely ally. Not quite a friend, but something close. Someone who understood what I'd survived. I'm good. Building something real. He'd be proud. The words made my chest ache, because I didn't know if he was proud. Didn't know anything anymore. Prison visits were allowed, but I hadn't gone. Couldn't bear to see him behind bars, caged and separate from everything he'd built. Instead, I'd written letters, dozens of them, telling him about the business, the clients, the life I was building. He'd never responded. The prison said he'd received them, but he'd never written back. Maybe it was easier for him to let me go. Maybe seeing me would make the years unbearable. Or maybe he'd simply stopped caring. I tried not to think about that last possibility too often. "Miss Chen?" My assistant was back. "Sorry, but there's someone else here. Says he knows you. Won't give a name, but he's intense." My heart stopped. "Send him in." She left, and I stood, smoothing my hair, checking my reflection in the window. The door opened. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. Dante stood in my doorway, wearing jeans and a simple black shirt, his hair longer than I remembered, a beard shadowing his jaw. Thinner, harder, but unmistakably him. "Hello, Serafina." I couldn't breathe. "You're not supposed to be out." "Not for years." "Good behavior." "Model prisoner." They released me early to a halfway house. "I have restrictions, an ankle monitor, mandatory therapy, but I'm out." He stepped into my office, and I saw the changes prison had carved into him. New scars, new shadows in his eyes, but also something softer, something healed. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed to see if I could make it on my own first. Without the empire, without power, without anything but myself." He moved closer, stopped a few feet away like afraid to touch me. "I got a job, construction, manual labor. It's honest, hard, and nothing like what I was, but it's real." Tears burned my eyes. "I wrote you. I know. I read every letter, sometimes 5-6 times a day. They kept me sane." "Then why didn't you write back?" "Because I didn't know who I was anymore. Couldn't promise you anything when I was still figuring out how to be just Dante instead of Moretti." His voice cracked. "But every word you sent reminded me why I'd made the choice. Why destroying everything was worth it." I closed the distance between us, hands shaking as they touched his face. He was real, solid. "Here. You. Look different," I whispered. "I am different. Prison breaks you down, teaches you what actually matters. Turns out empire and power?" He shook his head. "They're nothing compared to the memory of one perfect night with the woman I love. Do you still love me?" His hands came up to cover mine. "Serafina, you're the only thing I've loved in 15 years. The only thing I've ever chosen over survival. That doesn't just go away." I kissed him, then soft and careful, relearning the shape of him. He tasted different, like freedom and hard-won peace. When we broke apart, both of us were crying. "I built this for us," I said, gesturing to the office. Everything I wrote about, everything I dreamed, it was always with you in mind, waiting for you to come home. This is incredible. Your father would be so proud. Our father, I corrected. When we get married, if we get married, this becomes Chen Moretti. Both our names, both our dreams. His laugh was choked and beautiful. When? I've been waiting 6 months. I'm not waiting anymore. I pulled back, looked him in the eye. I love you. I chose you when you were a monster in an empire. I choose you now when you're a man in work boots. And I'll choose you every day for the rest of our lives if you'll have me. He dropped to his knees, this man who'd commanded armies, who'd ruled a city, who'd survived hell itself, and pressed his forehead to my stomach. I don't deserve you, he whispered. I'll probably never deserve you. But if you're willing to take a convicted criminal with no money, no power, and more baggage than any sane person would accept, then yes, God, yes, I'll marry you. I'll spend every day trying to become the man you see when you look at me. I pulled him up, kissed him properly, and felt the pieces of our shattered lives begin to knit back together. We'll build something new, I said. Not an empire, just a life. Honest, hard-earned, ours. Sounds perfect. Epilogue. 3 years later. The wedding was small. Agent Torres came, along with Elena and Lucia, and a handful of people who'd stood by Dante through everything. No empire, no grandeur, just love and witnesses. We honeymooned at the garden house, which we'd renovated together on weekends. Dante's mother's sanctuary was now ours, a place where a Mafia prince and a waitress with dreams had chosen each other over everything else. Chen Moretti and Associates had expanded to 3 cities. We specialized in helping small businesses survive and thrive, using both my education and Dante's street-smart understanding of power dynamics. He still saw a therapist weekly, still fought demons from his past, but he also laughed more, slept peacefully beside me, built things with his hands instead of destroying them. The FBI had kept their word, full pardons for both of us in exchange for testimony that had dismantled 2 criminal empires. We were free, clean, legitimate. Sometimes, late at night, Dante would hold me close and whisper, I still can't believe you chose me. And I'd kiss him and say, every single time, in every life, always you. Because that was the truth. Love hadn't saved us. We'd saved each other. From empires and prisons, from violence and fear, from the weight of terrible legacies and impossible choices. We'd chosen each other over safety, over sense, over every logical reason to run. And in doing so, we'd found something neither of us had ever imagined possible. Freedom.